You are listening to the Lawyer Stories podcast with host Benny Gold. Lawyer Stories was founded in July 2017 and is an expanding global network of lawyers and law students sharing their personal journeys to the noble profession of the practice of law. Join us on this podcast as we dig deeper into these stories and hear from lawyers and law students from around the world in all areas of the legal profession. Here at Lawyer Stories, we believe that every lawyer has a story. What's yours?
Welcome to the Lawyer Stories podcast with Benny Gold. Today we welcome in Stephen Berkovitch and Ariel Bouskila, partners at Berkovitch Bouskila, PLLC in New York City, practicing in commercial litigation, commercial collections, business counseling, and alternative financial transactions. Can't wait to find out what those are. How are you guys doing?
Great.
Doing good, man.
Yeah,
good to have
that. Was your cue to talk. I know you're new to podcast, but
we'll try to pick up on that. We don't want to talk over each other.
That's all right. You're doing just fine. We all made it through the intro, so we're good. Nice to see you guys tonight. Thanks for coming on the show. You're doing some interesting stuff. We're going to talk about BBLaw and how you got there, because it's just interesting to us. So, Stephen and Ari. So, where you guys kind of scream New York to me? Like, where are you guys from? Stephen, we'll start with you.
Born and bred in Brooklyn.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. Through.
I was also born and bred in Brooklyn, but now I live a little upstate in Rockland County.
Nice. Okay. So, are you Mets, Yankees, Jets, Giants, or not into any of it?
Yankees, Giants.
Okay, that's usually how it goes. All right.
Honestly, I'm a Yankees fan, but in football, I go for the Packers.
Packers, okay. All right. Well,
kind of random.
Our firm just closed.
Yeah, you just lost your biggest receiver. So, okay. All right. So, what I noticed about your story is you both went to Brooklyn College. You went to Fordham Law, right? So, you guys were 2 years apart. Is that what happened? Tell us about how you met each other. How do you know each other?
Elementary school.
Okay, so you've known each other since elementary. Were you in the same grades going through school?
No, so Stephen was a year above me in elementary school, and then he was 2 years ahead of me in college and law school.
Okay, all right.
I took a bunch of classes with Ari's brother.
Gotcha. All right. So did you guys talk about wanting to go to the same schools? Is that what happened?
Never.
No.
So come on, man, make it a love story. No. So
you a love story? I'll give you the love story.
No. So basically, you just you just ended up going to Brooklyn and then Fordham, right? So that was no coincidence. Yeah. It wasn't like, hey, man, I'm gonna go to this law school too, Fordham Law, and then we're gonna come out and
I actually found him at a friend's wedding. Oh,
you're going to give him the love story, Stephen.
You want a love story? I'll give it to you.
Yeah, let's hear it. Come on. Give us some juice, man.
He just broke up with his girlfriend. He was sad. He went for a walk. I went outside to make a phone call, and I found him by a fountain. And, when you ask somebody hey, what's going on? And most people are just great. You don't expect the whole, I'm sad. I just broke up with my girlfriend. It's been a while. And 30 minutes later, he's still telling me about her. And I'm like, wow, this guy can talk endlessly. He's probably a really good biller.
So, yeah. So, and that's after you've known each other forever, basically. So you were like, hey, what's going on, Ari? And then that whole thing happened. So, and that led to, tell me what that led to.
It kind of put him back on my radar. I have a lot of friends that went to law school, good Jewish boys from Brooklyn.
There you go.
Yeah. And, I just got into this new gig around that time, working specializing in alternative financing.
Okay.
And, that new niche kind of was taken off, a lot of action. And all good, new business ideas that come out, litigation starts to happen, and everybody thinks that it's, things are crazy and everybody wants to sue everybody. My background was more in business and finance. I have a CPA as well.
Oh, wow. Okay.
You know, almost every Jewish mother's dream. If I could have just swung that MD. And, you know, litigation was not my forte. They tell you, you know, I still remember my friend's dad was a lawyer. And the day that I graduated, I was at his house and he looks at me and he goes, "Congratulations on graduation." He goes, "Do you know how to file a lawsuit?" Not a clue. He goes, "Never teach you anything in law school." Luckily, I already knew a couple things. He was working at an insurance defense firm, so
nice.
He specialized in litigation. And I was like, "Hey, we got all this litigation kind of happening, and you know, maybe you want to pick up some of that slack."
Wow. Okay. So you guys kind of separated for years, and then you met him at a wedding. You like started talking, and then that was sort of...
We were friendly when we were younger, and then we became better friends like after that wedding, and then we started working together, and here we are 7 years later.
Hey man, that's interesting how it happens. Look, I have ZBT brothers from UMass that I was good friend, you know, that I wasn't as friendly with, and now after we became better friends. So I get that. That's super cool. So you did sort of have a moment like where you discussed it. So what was the moment where you were like, "Yo, let's go off on our own and start our firm"?
So that really like fell into our laps. I mean, when we were working, so basically to finish Stephen's story, I had this litigation background, working at an insurance defense firm. I was, you know, not even a year out of law school at the time, but I was making my own court appearances, arguing motions for summary judgment, you know, doing like real lawyer stuff, what you would expect somebody who's an actual attorney to do.
And you were, sorry, who were you working for?
I was working at a firm called London Fisher.
Okay, right.
Great firm. They really like throw their associates like into it. Great. And I got an amazing experience there. So at that point, Stephen was like, "Listen, I got all of this litigation work happening, and I can't handle it. I'm just not equipped. It's not something I've ever done before. You have the experience. Why not, you know, take a chance and see if this works?"
That's awesome.
And here we are.
So there you go. And now you're on the Lawyer Stories podcast telling us everything. That's awesome. Congrats to you guys.
That's how we made it. Thank you.
You made it. So nice young gentleman, you know, starting out. That's great. That's congratulations. And so like one thing I noticed, like Ari, you're licensed in New York, New Jersey, Virginia, Maryland. You got pending in like Illinois, Georgia, Michigan, Ohio. Like why? Like I have 3, right? So like I'm Massachusetts, Maine, and Connecticut. I'm like a New England guy.
Right.
So like what? So why so many?
So this has to do with this, you know, this new line of business that we're trying to offer our clients. Okay. Stephen also got admitted in a bunch of different states, right, and we're actually working now on trying to expand that beyond what we already have. And really the reason for it is that depending on the state in which a business operates, or depending on the state in which a lending entity operates, the laws could potentially be more favorable to the lender. Right? Commercial loans can have less usury limitations in some states rather than, let's say, New York, Florida, or California, where you might have some problems. You know, whereas in Virginia, Illinois, Georgia, you have less of a problem. You can charge higher interest rates. So in this sort of alternative finance space, we're not dealing with your typical 10-year bank loans at 5%. We're dealing with higher risk, higher cost money. And we want to offer our clients the options to really operate very within the law without any without any risk of, let's say, you know, a court holding their contract to be legal. So these are the things that we've really been researching and working on and trying to grow our practice to offer our clients, and also to serve clients nationwide, right? This business exists everywhere. So to give us that opportunity and to give the potential clients the opportunity.
Yeah, Steven's got Utah over there, and he's got Texas and Pennsylvania pending. That's awesome. So you're really...
Pennsylvania, I'm actually admitted in. Texas is currently pending.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. So yeah, it's, you know, a lot of this really, you know, one of the buzzwords everybody throws around is fintech today. A lot of people don't know what that means, but, you know, you've got online banks starting up, right?
Yep.
You've got lenders that are online issuing loans all over the country. They're based in Utah. You're a borrower in Boston. Whose law applies? Are they going to trip up with any sort of state laws on either end? And a lot of this is being litigated. You know, there's a lot of case law back and forth. Courts have come down on both sides of it. So we wanted to be able to offer, you know, a more diverse practice and operate in those states.
Right. That's awesome. So BBLaw, basically, you guys are ahead of the curve, man. Like, you saw that you had to get your licenses in other states to give the best options to your clients, and you went ahead and did that. I think that's super smart. So
thank you.
Congrats on doing that.
We're trying to broaden our horizon to be properly counseled.
But the real question is, like, Steve, did you go down to Texas, like, for your swearing in or what?
So Texas, no. I actually got admitted to Pennsylvania and Utah in the middle of COVID, so it was a Zoom. It was a Zoom hearing. It was wonderful. I mean,
come on, you got to go down to Dallas or something and go into a courtroom.
Texas is on my list. Dallas looks like a cool place to hang out. Utah.
You should just go down there and get admitted, man. Like, say the oath, go party, celebrate. Let me know if you want to bring lawyers stories with you. What's that?
Utah in January on the slopes.
There you go.
Party.
Fair enough. All right. So, what were your first jobs out of law school? I mean, you guys are young men. I mean, like, it's not like you've been out of law school for 20 years. It's okay. You're very ambitious. Like, tell us. We'll start with you, Ari. Like, your first job out of law school, and then Steven, you want to follow up?
Yeah, so as I was saying before, my first job out of law school was at this firm called London Fisher.
Right.
They were primarily involved in insurance defense. Now, if you're not familiar with what insurance defense is, I'll just essentially, somebody gets into a car accident, has a slip and fall in front of a building. The building has an insurance policy. They make a claim with their insurance company. The insurance company hires a lawyer. So we were really the other side of personal injury lawsuits. Now, the work was great. The quality of the work was great. The people I worked with was awesome, but it's not really the most, thrilling industry, and it's not the most growing industry. So I was always like trying to figure out my way out, and, luckily Stephen was there. He helped me out, but honestly, the work there was great. That's where I really credit my first experiences. I remember when I first got admitted to New Jersey, was the first state I got admitted into. About a week after I was officially sworn into the state of New Jersey, I was sent on a court appearance to argue a motion in front of a judge. I was literally a lawyer for a week. And
you were alone? They sent you alone?
They sent me alone, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, listen, they had a lot of faith, I guess, in me, or maybe it's just they did this to everybody and see if you could sink or swim. But it really worked.
Well, I think that's great. First, a lot of people and we'll get to Steven's first experience, but I think a lot of people have negative first law experiences. So I think that's super cool that you had a positive experience. That says a lot about the firm. Yeah. Yeah,
it definitely was a very positive experience. Everybody I worked with there was really great. And I'm thankful for the experience I had, and it really led me to where I am now. So that's definitely a positive.
Awesome. Steve, what about you?
So I actually went to work at an accounting firm.
Right. Okay.
Doing some, tax work and tax loans and controversy. I mean, the first case that I handled, I think a week after a week of being there, was an IRS residency audit. It wasn't even the IRS. It was New York. New York was trying to get their tax money from an individual who didn't reside here, and we literally went through somebody's life day by day, counting their, how many days they were in New York versus not in New York. And at the end of it, I realized that when you fight the government, it was, look, we want $100,000 from you. We'll take 50, or you can spend 50 grand on an attorney fighting us. Your move.
Right. Interesting.
Not glamorous, not fun, but at the end, I think we actually won on that audit, which was kind of cool.
Nice.
But yeah, it was a lot of fun, but it wasn't overall. It wasn't that exciting. Your opponent on the other end doesn't really care. The attorney on the tax side, you're just one out of 1,000 in their book. It doesn't matter if they win or lose. Some put in a little more effort. Some don't really put in effort. Didn't love it. And then a buddy of mine called me. He was like, "Hey, we're in this new field. We're not making loans. It's called merchant cash advance, similar to factoring. We're purchasing receivables of business." Future receivables actually of these businesses. And he's like, "I think you'd be a great fit. You got to come down, meet these guys, and see what you can do." So I was like, why not? I'm still trying to find my way. I wasn't out of law school long. I'm like, let's see what it is. And I kind of learned that and taught myself that and kind of grew in that. And I loved it. There was so much going on and nobody knew anything. It was a totally fresh business.
Okay. So let me ask you, so did you each have one or two jobs after, you're telling me like a second job, but was it one or two jobs before you joined up for BBLaw?
I just had one job.
Okay.
Just that one job, yeah.
So tell me, what is your advice to somebody who is starting a law firm? Like what good advice can you give a couple of people out of law school?
The best advice that I can probably give is don't devalue yourself. You know, the clients that want you to work for practically for free.
Okay.
It's not worth it ultimately.
Those
clients that stick around, those aren't clients you want to do business with. At the end of the day, the ones that nickel and dime you on their fees, you know, my favorite line is whenever somebody asks for a discount, we always ask if we can give them the discounted service.
I think that's great advice. I do. I think you shouldn't devalue yourself. You should get what you're worth. And I think that's really solid advice. Or you could add to that, or I could ask something else.
I mean, listen, I can add to that in the same vein, right? Because that person that's going to nickel and dime you on the first call, he's going to nickel and dime you on the 500th call as well. So it's not like you're saying like, okay, I'll lower my rate for you today. That's going to be your rate forever. But at the same time, if you want to be successful in your own practice, and you know, if that's the move that somebody wants to do, it's an endless amount of work. It really is, because you're not just lawyering. You're lawyering only half the time. You're running a business the other half of the time.
Right.
You know, and that's something that Stephen can probably speak more to than I, but at the end of the day, there's a lot more that goes into it than just being a lawyer when you're running your own practice. And that's a lot of work, and you got to be ready, willing, and able to, you know, undertake that.
That's awesome. Sounds like you guys put a lot of thought into that. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, and I'd say equal to that is, you know, you want to make sure you have the right system set up. When I first started, we were doing a lot of things off of spreadsheets. You know, Excel's an amazing, amazing tool. And then we learned about other options out there. I mean, we custom built a platform that we use for our business on Salesforce. It alleviates so much time and headache from us. I mean, we cut down a lot on the inter-office chatter about who's doing what and where things are, because now everything's consolidated into one place. Technology really, really plays a very, very significant role in our practice, where, you know, and that's also where I think we differ from a lot of other firms.
Right. That was one of my questions that I was going to get to. So I think you guys are very well prepared to answer that. It sounds like you probably had some moments where you did have to, you know, talk to people. They're like, hey, look at these, you know, these two young guys, like maybe I can get a deal. You know what I mean? Like maybe you have to deal with that sometimes. So, sorry. I work just as hard for my law degree and to pass the bar as like the guy who's, you know, 30 years in, right?
Yeah, we did that. We definitely worked on a discount, and we worked at lower rates for people. And all that really led to was us just unhappy. You know, every time that client would call, we would have to fight about who's going to pick up the phone. Neither one of us wanted.
Right. And I would love to see that. For some reason, I would love to see you got. I don't want it. You take it.
It was literally, I did it last time. It's your turn. No. But I did it the time before. But no, he annoyed me for an hour. You got 3 minutes. It's not fair. You got
So, and you know what ultimately happened?
What's that?
What ultimately happened was that we just stopped picking up the phone for that guy. And that was it. You know, and we're better off for it. When we first started, we took on, you know, there's a classic, like, you know, the guy that hangs in shingle. He practices what's commonly referred to as door law. What's door law? Whatever walks in, that's what he handles. So
right.
When we first started, obviously we were within our little niche, but we were really doing work for any client that called. But as we started getting busier, we realized that there were more, you know, lucrative clients than others. And there were clients that would just be insanely demanding without willing to pay for it. And we realized that those are clients that you can't keep around because they're just going to drag you down. They're going to prohibit you from actually performing good work for your paying clients. And if you're doing a disservice to yourself, you're doing a disservice to your actual clients, it just becomes problematic. You know, it's important to focus on that which will help you and your practice grow.
Guys, I have a line for you to use next time somebody wants a discount. They say, hey, can I get like a 30% discount? I know you say, hey, do you work for free? you know, or say something like that. Like, do you work for discount? Because I know all about it, man. Like, you know, it's crazy. Like,
and on the flip side of that, you know, the other thing that we've learned is because we deal with a lot of, you know, we don't deal with, you know, with Fortune 500 companies and super large corporate type companies. Our clients do have issues that pop up that are not in our wheelhouse. Thankfully, we have an incredible network of really incredible lawyers, similar to us, you know, smaller shops that specialize in one or two things that when our clients do need something, we're able to provide that for them. It's kind of like, you know, an outside general counsel type of a scenario where we can guide them and, you know, give them some decent advice, but actually introduce them to people that can get them what they need and where they need to be. You know, we don't practice bankruptcy, but we work with some incredible bankruptcy attorneys that you know, the need pops up all the time. And, you know, we work alongside them to get the best result for our client. That's also, you know, one of the tips that I would give to anybody starting out is that you can't do everything. Nobody's a superhuman. So networking, meeting other people similar to you, you know, smaller firms with people that, you know, you can refer work to each other. And it's not, you know, you do different things, totally different functions. You guys can coexist.
So by the way, that's sort of what we do at Lawyer Stories. I don't know if you guys have an Instagram account or if you're on Facebook, but we do have a listserv now of like 400 people, 400 attorneys. We'd love to get you on it. Like if you see somebody on there you ever want to connect with, like that's what I like to do. I like to bring people together. So we're happy that we know a good amount of New York attorneys now, and you know, we'd love to set you up. We just had a couple, one of our last podcasts that came out, I think 2 podcasts ago. We did a 3-person podcast. These nice guys in New York City. You'll have to check it out. I'd love to connect with them. They had first careers, and then they went into the law, and they're really cool guys. So I'd like to connect you with them, and like anybody else that you see, like we'd love to do it.
We're always up for that. Grab a beer.
Yeah, that's it.
We're all about the strategic partnerships, you know.
Yeah,
that's how you can deliver the best results for your clients. Because, like Steven said, at the end of the day, you can't do everything. We can't do everything, right? As amazing as this podcast is making us sound, we have our own limitations, right? So that's why we partner up.
Yeah, and we pride ourselves in knowing our limitations.
Yeah,
you exactly. You service to your client when you turn into a Google lawyer. You know, if your client asks for something that you don't do, you're like, you know what, I'm just going to Google it and find the form on LegalZoom or one of these websites.
Yep.
You know, that can sometimes really hinder a client's goal and sometimes blow up in their face.
Yeah, for sure. So tell us about BBLaw. Like, what services are you guys offering?
So take it away.
Go ahead, Steve.
Take it away. Go ahead, Ari.
All right. So one of our primary areas of business is that we assist merchant cash advance companies, factors, and lenders in collecting on defaulted balances.
Okay.
Right. So a lot of that really is collections, litigations, and most importantly, UCC Article 9 enforcement mechanisms.
Okay.
Now, the UCC, which is the Uniform Commercial Code, is one of those bodies of law.
Thrown by the mention of the UCC, I gotta say.
It's one of those things that nobody expects, right? Because
it's a book like that big that I had in law school, right? Did everybody else have that?
Yeah, except we never had that. At least I never did. I specifically did not take any classes on secure transactions. I did not study for secure transactions. No problem. I didn't study for secure transactions for the bar. I just took those 3 questions and guessed them like everybody else does. But now it's really like probably one of the most primary functions of our practice. I mean,
that on the bar, if any, I think when it came up for the secure transaction review, they said, look, you might get maximum 3 questions. Pick B. We're not wasting time. Moving on.
There were 3 questions? How did I know that? Come on, man.
So yeah, I mean, listen, Article 9 is a very, very useful area of the law when it comes to collecting on secure transactions, and that's a lot of what we do. I mean, and through that experience in really collecting on these defaulted deals, we've actually learned how to structure transactions to make it easier for the funder, lender, factor to enforce their position should anything go awry. right? If a deal defaults, now they're in a better position than they would have been had they drawn something up by themselves without getting the proper documentation.
So do you get the case after it goes through like a collection agency and all that? Is that what happens or no?
Generally not. So we've worked our way kind of from the bottom up, right? People always say like, ooh, collections attorneys, that's like the bottom of the barrel.
No.
We've learned what you need through that process, right? And that involves litigation, and it can be a variety of, of mechanisms and contracts to get you to where you need to ultimately get your client paid. So like I already said, we've used that information to kind of build up back and say, hey, if you had this in your contract, or you had this type of enforcement mechanism, when this business defaulted on you, you would have been in a much better position to get paid. So we've worked our way back into, structuring these transactions and setting up a variety of financings, whether some sort of creative financing or regular transactional work, loans, in a way that is most beneficial to the lender to try to minimize their risk. So in the event of a default or something goes sour, they're not left with nothing. They have some sort of recourse and enforcement ability to be able to recoup their money.
Wow. Okay. So what is a service? Well, first tell me, like, what sets you guys apart from other firms?
So I think it's exactly what Stephen mentioned, right? We've come from the end of the story, so to speak, and now we're working on the beginning of the story. So because we know how the book ends, we know how to start it, right? I was reading this thing by some author, I can't remember who it was now, but she writes that she'll never start writing a book until she has the ending, right? So it's the same thing. So in our situation, we've learned through working on collections of, hundreds, thousands of files, whatever it is, we've learned what can help a lender or a funder protect themselves. We've been in situations where it's like, if we would have had that, we would have been better. If we would have done it this way to start off, we would have been better. So now we're coming at it from the beginning, and we're saying, now that you're funding this guy, now that you're entering into this loan agreement, you're entering into this alternative finance transaction or whatever it is, this is how we should set you up. And if we set you up in a proper way, you're much more protected at the end. And honestly, the majority of transactional attorneys have no litigation experience. You can go to one of these big law firms, and not to discount their services or anything, but the person that's drafting your contract is not the same person that's litigating it if the guy defaults. It's not the same person that's litigating it if there's a fight between, the lender and the borrower at some point. It's always different people, usually miles apart from everything.
Yeah.
By us, it's different. We do everything, right? We're handling the litigation, we're handling the drafting. So because we've litigated it, we know how to draft for it. And that's really what I think sets us apart from a lot of other firms. Right. And I can't tell you how many times we've gotten calls from clients where somebody would say, listen, I heard you're very good at collections. I gave this guy $1 million loan. Here are the documents. Can you help me? And you look at it and it's like, who wrote this?
Right.
Like, you're not in a very good situation based off of these documents. And, that's one of the things that we think is important that prospective clients know, is that it's much cheaper to call an attorney before you have a mess than after you have a mess.
Right. Call the right attorney. Sure.
And call the right attorney, of course.
It's all about preventative. That's how we look at it.
Yeah.
The prevention of a potential disaster is far cheaper than what it'll cost you on the back end. And it could be the smallest things, right? What state law to use, what venue to use. All these things matter. What court do you want to litigate in, right? Some courts you can get a judgment super quick. Other courts it could be 2-3 years for no reason whatsoever. People get these forms they find online and they just fill them out. They don't know that something like usury exists, right? In New York, the maximum you can charge on a commercial loan is 25%. But there's caveats to that, right? There's fees that goes against that cap. So a lot of people don't, your average layperson wouldn't know this type of stuff. They just go online, find the form, fill it out. And a lot of it also happens because, the best deals out there sometimes happen in a rush, right? People are short, they got a deal, they need something to fund. They got the ability to purchase something, an asset, a property, some inventory at a great discount. and everybody needs to move quick. And most of our client situations are like that, right? We pride ourselves on the ability to speed, right? It doesn't take us 2 weeks, 3 weeks to do a loan and get it out there.
That's awesome.
Want something done in 24, 48 hours.
That's awesome. Do you see any specific types of cases coming through because of COVID? Or like, what did that affect your business? And when did you launch your business? I know I just asked like 7 questions right there.
We launched about in 2016.
Okay, so like, did you see any cases coming in as a result of COVID?
We were actually, at least I was very surprised because, you kept reading the news and implosion and all these crazy things that are happening. And there's a lot of businesses booming. We didn't see that many people that didn't, that couldn't meet their debt obligations because of COVID. Restaurants were functioning. Restaurants were doing better than they ever were because they were able to cut staff. There was no in-person dining. It was only to-go orders. Uber Eats and DoorDash and those types of businesses were really, helping them out on the delivery front. I'm trying to think if there was ever, and most of our clients also, it was a very, very almost pleasant time. There, creditors were really working with debtors. I think it was,
okay.
People were aware of the situation. Pushing somebody to make payments when their business was closed due to a state mandate, there's nothing they can do, right?
Yeah.
And we told most of our clients that at the time also, it's about being reasonable, right? Pushing and chasing somebody and trying to enforce your rights under an agreement is always worthwhile, right? That is our job. But it's also telling clients and saying, hey, if you do this, what are you going to get? Yes, you can do this it's your right to do this, but what are you going to gain? He's not going to pay you faster, right? He doesn't have the money to pay you right now.
Right. So what advice do you have for a current law student? It could be anything, like an advice for a current law student.
I would say one thing is take advantage of part-time employment opportunities. It's one of those things that they don't really tell you about in law school because really there's like a trajectory, right? You go to law school, your first summer you clerk by some judge or the district attorney or some government job.
If you're lucky.
Your second summer, you get a job at a big law firm if you're lucky. And then your third summer, you're studying for the bar, and then you've got a very high-paying job the day after you graduate, right? Everything sounds great. But a lot of times you're not getting the right experiences. So I had a couple of jobs during law school, random solo practitioners or 3-person lawyers or 10-person lawyers, law firms. And each one of those experiences taught me something, right? You learn a little bit about how to actually practice law, which is one of the things that's missing from law school, interestingly enough. But
guys, we're down to like less than a minute, so just click the link.
Yeah.
Right, keep going.
Yeah. So I find that it's very helpful to, introduce yourself to other attorneys, work for other attorneys, see them work, and try to, absorb those experiences and take that with you for the future. So you can actually learn how to be a practicing, functioning attorney as opposed to just, somebody that opened some books for a couple of years.
Yeah, that's good advice.
The one class, there was multiple classes that they offered that I didn't find out until I think my last semester was practical skills classes. I took a contract drafting class. Had I known how good that was going to be later on in my career, that I'd actually, look at a contract, be able to understand a couple of key basics. I'm not going to say that I was the most efficient contract drafter or reviewer when I graduated, but at least a contract wasn't foreign to me. I would have taken every single practical skills class that, that Fordham offered at the time. I think that was my big mistake. I was trying to bolster my resume by getting a wide range of experience, taking a tax class, taking some random law class about international law that thought it would look good on my resume. But in reality, I really should have just been doing the practical skills.
Yeah, no, this podcast is about you guys, but I totally agree. Like I don't want to say I dodged, but I didn't do those classes that would have been important to like the practice of law. And I think doing those classes and doing those externships and internships would have been huge, So I talk about it often here, and I don't have any regrets, but I think that that's definitely a smart thing to do.
Yeah, I wouldn't say, I mean, it's not a regret. You know, I went down the path that I went down, but I feel like when I came out of law school, it would have, you know, even if it wouldn't have helped me in my career per se right away, it would have given me a lot more confidence to sound like a lawyer and kind of even know enough of the basics. You know, one of the first jobs I had, one of the partners there at that firm would always say, you know, he knows enough to be dangerous. That's really the difference, is you know enough to be dangerous, but at least know when to ask the right questions or when there's a question.
Let me ask you this. Did you do trial advocacy?
I did moot court.
Okay. Well, you did. I mean, that's incredible in and of itself. I mean, that's great that you did that.
Yeah, first year I did I did a summer internship at the Brooklyn DA's office.
Yeah,
that was some great experience. You know, I had a lot of fun running around the courtroom and kind of learning how to work.
There you go. You got that experience, Stephen. You weren't missing out on anything.
No, but it's the practical skills classes that really would have made a difference.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. So how come you two work so well together? You're doing a really good job there in New York City.
Yin and yang.
Yin and yang, really. So
yin and yang.
Do you see like one person eventually kind of going out there making the contacts and the other one just like going to court, or like maybe that's how it works? What do you think?
So getting the clients in the door is kind of a, you know, we both do that. A lot of our clients come from interesting places, right? It's a lot of people, like Ari was mentioning, that hey, I'm out a lot of money on this particular deal. What can I do to recoup it? And then when you explain to them what the issue is and what could have been done at the onset, they're like, well, I'm calling you before I do another one of these.
Exactly.
But it's, you know, the type of work that we do. You know, when it comes to a firm, there's a lot of the back office stuff, right? The accounting, the bookkeeping, keeping track of escrow accounts. That'll on me with an accounting background. I hate drafting with a passion. I love to redline. Like Ari always takes, you know, first crack at any sort of drafting.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then Stephen marks it up. You know, it's always good to have a second pair of eyes on thing, and that's really what it is. I mean, a lot of times you'll see people that, you know, have partners in a firm or even in a different sort of business where the two partners are doing the same thing. When that happens, you'll always have one of them say, I feel like I'm doing more than you, you're doing less than me, I should be doing this, you should be doing that. And you end up getting into disputes about that. We don't have that issue primarily because he doesn't want to do what I do, and I don't want to do what he does.
And I feel like you guys seem like you would take criticism from each other pretty well too.
Oh, we yell at each other.
I mean, like, hey, what's this piece of crap you wrote?
Exactly.
Exactly. That's exactly what happens. And sometimes Ari will draft, you know, a first round of the lawsuit, flip it to me, and go, okay, now do what you do, make it mean.
Okay.
And I'll go and redline it. You know, here's a funny piece that people are really shocked by. You know, everybody wants to be a partner in a law firm. Everybody wants to be the, you know, the big boss, get that corner office. We share an office. We always have, because with the type of work that we do, why yell at each other from two offices down every 3 minutes? We literally sit together, and because he'll be on the phone and I'll hear things and just give my unsolicited opinion and vice versa. So you know, you're always getting two heads for the price of one. And because we don't do the same thing, we don't think the same, I believe it brings a lot more value to our clients because they're getting two totally different viewpoints on one matter.
Good point. Where are your offices? You're in New York City or Brooklyn?
New York City, downtown Manhattan.
Oh, that's amazing. I miss it down there. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Come by.
I am. I'm gonna come this summer. Definitely. We hope to come. We hope to come this summer. That's great. So, like,
for a visit.
What? Yeah, man, that'd be great. So, your website states. I don't know if you've looked at your website for a while, but here comes a question about your website. So, your website states that you're a small, modern, New York-based law firm that believes in plain, old-fashioned advocacy. The thing that caught my eye was the old-fashioned advocacy. Is there anything that you have to talk about with that?
I mean, really what it comes down to is we're not trying to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the business of practicing law has gone away from advocating for, from an attorney advocating for their clients to an attorney trying to, milk their clients, right? It's the classic. There's so many jokes that people say about lawyers and, about how they're money hungry and whatever.
You know what I always what I always thought was funny? Like, people have all these jokes about lawyers, right? But like, they love watching the lawyer TV shows. They love reading the lawyer books. They love reading online about like the lawyer cases, yet they're the first one to have these jokes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's entertaining, but what I was saying was that
somebody asked you if our job is like Suits. You are like Spectre. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what it's like.
Yeah.
It's funny because that show is like not real. I mean, it's funny. It's a good show, but it's a little absurd because
I love that show,
bro. All they do on Suits, good show. We'd love to have Meghan Markle appear on the podcast if you're out there. But all they do is they it looks like it's 3 a.m. in their offices, and they're just like yelling at each other at like 3 a.m. with like the New York skyline and like the stars in the background. It's
right.
Like, oh, like not every night. All right. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So what I was saying was what we're trying to deliver for our clients is just to bring back practicing law and getting the goal that your clients want. Our job as an attorney, when we get retained by a client, is to get him from point A to point B. He doesn't care how we get him there, but he wants us to get him there efficiently. And that's our goal. We like to consider ourselves resolution-based attorneys. We are looking to resolve your problem, clean up your mess, whatever it is that you need done. That's what we're looking to do. I'm not looking to pad the bill with extra hours. I'm not looking to, do things that don't need doing, right? I want to get you where you need to be. That's pretty much it.
That's awesome. So,
and we tell clients, what we believe. We don't hold back on them. We're not shy. We're not yes men. So we will tell clients, like, we believe this is the best outcome for you in this matter. And our clients generally trust it. And I tell them all the time, right? What are you paying us for? Right? You're not paying me so you can tell me what to do. You may as well just do it yourself. So our clients have come to trust us. Sometimes in litigation, you could be 100% right. Catch the wrong judge. You just have to know when it's time to fold them.
Right.
It's a good song. You gotta know when. All right.
That song plays in my head multiple times.
Did either of you have a mentor in the law or no?
Not really. We've had a lot of, I would say, colleagues and acquaintances that we've sort of like built ourselves off of, right? Like we were saying earlier, it's important to have strategic partnerships and work with other lawyers that can help you out. And we've done that over the last, 6 years, and we've learned a lot from them. We've learned a lot of how to practice law, how to be a good lawyer, things like that. And that's really what we've grown off of. Okay.
So where do you see BBLaw in 5 to 10 years?
We're just thinking about tomorrow. I'm not really into the 5 to 10 years.
I like that. That's a good one too.
About what's on my calendar tomorrow, what we need to do, what we need to accomplish.
Right.
So short-term goals and long-term productivity. It's when you think too long and that far down, I feel like it just hinders me. I kind of get just like stuck and be like, where do I want to be in 5 years from now? I don't know. Is it here?
Yeah.
But
I'll figure that out as I go along. No?
There you go. Day by day. Yeah. So
another great song.
Fellas, did we miss anything tonight like that you want to include, that you want to add any advice, anything else about BBLaw?
I think we've covered most of it. I mean, there, as you can tell, right? We're not in suits and ties. We're not in overly dressed. We're modern lawyers for a modern time, right? Going back to what was on our website, we're super tech heavy. We've really built an incredible tech platform that anything that can be automated is automated. I mean, we've got a direct feed of all of our litigation cases that pulls into our software. So it automatically downloads documents, attaches them to the right case. It keeps all of our billing. I mean, this is something I know that, Ariel was mentioning. He worked at an insurance defense firm. One of the things we always joke about is at his old firm, they had 2 paralegals whose full-time job was it to do what our software automatically does. So we don't need to bill clients for things that don't actually need to be done, that can be automated.
Right.
You know, that's a big piece for us. And I think that's where we differ from a lot of law firms, is we invested in tech. So, and, you know, we benefit and our clients benefit because they're not paying for a paralegal to download and collate documents. You know, that was always one thing that annoyed me when you see things on bills is people doing repetitive work and work that doesn't need to be done. So that was something that's, you know, very big for us. We try to focus our time on actually, you know, getting a resolution, getting what our clients need done, and try to automate everything we can. I mean,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's a huge help for us and a huge time saver.
That's great. Ari, anything on that?
I mean, really just what Stephen was saying. We try to pride ourselves on our efficiency. It makes our life easier, and it makes our clients' bills cheaper at the end of the day, and makes everybody happy.
Totally.
It's something that we are very proud of, that we've invested in over the last couple of years. And it does a lot for us, and we hope to pass that on to our clients.
Awesome. Ari and Stephen from BBLaw, New York City. Thanks for being with us tonight. And
thanks for having us.
Wherever you are, stay right there. And wherever you are in the world today, enjoy yourselves. Cheers.